I'm sure that we could all agree that Microsoft Flight Simulator 2024 looks fairly decent, pretty good simulator with good visuals if you have a decent system. So what we're going to do today here is we're going to compare the different methods of traffic injection we have. Of course, starting with default MSFS traffic injection. We're also going to take a look at FSLTL, which is from Fly-by-Wire, and you could download that for free. We also have AIG Traffic models, which we could get in the sim. And lastly, we're going to see what Beyond ATC allows us to do. And of course, we're going to be checking the performance along the way on each of these. So right now we're here again at Miami, default Miami, and we're getting about 135 frames here being zoomed out. If we get a little closer to the aircraft, frames might tank a little bit. I've seen about an average of 125 or so. So that's what we're going to be looking at today. So let's go ahead and get some default traffic injection from MSFS turned on and see what we get. So we're going to come down here. And firstly, we're going to turn on our parked aircraft quantity. So let's get the variety, leave the variety on ultra, but we're going to just set it to low for now. And let's see what we get here in Miami. And as you could already see, some aircraft are spawning in. All right, so here we are back in the sim. Some aircrafts are spawning in. Gonna give it a second to just, catch up and load everything in. But here we are, and we see what that injection looks like at the gate. So we have an A310 here, 737, and these liveries look fairly basic, and looks like some of them are just completely, fake liveries. Of course, we have the E-jets over here. Default Boeing 737 Max liveries, A321 from Airbus. So these liveries look fairly basic, nothing to write home about, but of course it's something, right? It's definitely something. They don't look too terrible, look fairly well modeled. See how close we could get here. Yeah, looks fairly decently modeled. And of course it adds some planes at the gates, and the performance here is not terrible, because these are just static aircraft. If you float through them, there's nothing in it. So performance is not terrible. Let's get back next to our actual aircraft that we have spawned here, and let's see what the performance is like from our usual vantage point here. Earlier we were about 125 frames, and now we're hovering about 120 frames. So not a huge hit in performance. I would say fairly similar to what we had before. So that all looks good. Let's try cranking it up a little bit. All right, so let's get our parked aircraft quantity. Let's bump that up to medium and see what we get. All right, we bumped that up to medium. Let's get that some time to settle. We see some of the liveries there changed. Okay, some of the aircraft changed. I think all we changed was the quantity. So here we are averaging still about 120 frames next to our spawned aircraft, which is good. Not much of a hit there. Let's see if we're getting a little stutters as we move around in free roam camera here. It's not the greatest. Deliveries remain very default, very basic. Oh, watch the performance there. The deliveries are not the greatest, and of course we're seeing some performance hits here as we move around the airport. Let's try just getting up in the sky. Yep, it's definitely some stutters there, and the frames are definitely dropping. But again, more densely populated with more aircraft, but the liveries are still very basic, very, very basic. All default manufacturer liveries is what I'm seeing here. Not much actual airliner liveries from what I could tell. All right, let's crank it up some more and see what else we get. So we come back down here, and we're gonna set the parked aircraft quantity to high. Let's go back into the sim, and of course the performance might get even worse. Oh, let it settle, let it settle. Let's go back next to our aircraft to start off again. Give it some time while it just loads everything in. And we see the GSC doing some jumps and flicks. All right, so here we are next to our spawned aircraft, still averaging about 120 frames, which is decent. But as we move around, we could definitely see some performance hits as we move around by these other aircraft. Luckily now it's not doing it as much as it was doing it on medium, which is very interesting. Here we have an MD-90 here. This looks like an ATR on this side, 72 possibly. Yep. And the performance, interestingly, on high, it's actually better. On medium a second ago, it was definitely showing some spikes and some lags when I'm trying to move around the camera, but now it's fairly back to normal, I guess, which is interesting. It's a 757. But yes, so as you can see, default MSFS just adds in these default aircraft with their manufacturer liveries, which are kind of boring and basic if I do say so myself. Here's an A220. So that is what the performance is like. Let's crank it all the way up to ultra, see what we get. All right, so now we're cranking the performance up to ultra. Let's go back next to our aircraft again. All right, let's get everything a chance to settle, because obviously we're changing settings in the middle of the sim. Oh, some crazy stuff's happening there. Let's just give everything a chance to settle. All right, so here we are, ultra quantity of parked aircraft. As we see some jet bridges loading over there on the left, they're moving to their aircraft. But the performance in the frames are still hovering about 119, which is fairly decent on ultra, as I just document that on the left side there. All right, yeah, frames still average about 120. Let's see if we can move around to the airport again like last time. Again, very basic, very default liveries here. Nothing to write home about, just default manufacturer liveries. But again, add some level of immersion. Oh, there's an Air Canada livery. Spoke too fast. Spoke too fast. Looks like an A319 of sorts. And we have an Air Canada livery over here. So that looks good. But more basic default liveries. All right. So another thing you could do with this is also add air traffic with default MSFS. So let's see what that does. So we come down here and we're going to go ahead and add air traffic quantity. Let's get that set to low. And let's see what changes that makes to the sim. Okay, that does some wonky stuff, but let's reset. All right, let's reset next to our aircraft. Give it a chance to settle here. All right, definitely lost about, I would say, 5 FPS or so with adding the, you know, air traffic quantity to low. So what I believe that should do is that should put some aircraft moving around at the airport, potentially getting ready to take off or even land. But I don't see anything taking place right now. Didn't really make much of a change. Don't see any aircraft taxiing or landing right now. Oh, there's one is that at a gate or is that taxiing? I'm not sure. It looks like it's parked, so. All right, let's see if we bump that up, see what we get. Let's go all the way to ultra. So let's get our air traffic to ultra. See what that does. All right, so here we are with air traffic quantity set to ultra back at our spawned in aircraft. And of course, the parked aircraft quantity is also still set to ultra and averaging about the same frames again. But what I'm not seeing is any aircraft actually moving around the terminal or any aircraft landing. So that is interesting. I don't see any additional movement with this. Oh, no, these aircraft over here also parked up. But as you can see, a lot of aircraft, but not a lot of movement here.
I don't think you have the facilities for that, big man.
Hold up, everyone, from the future here. And I just realized while editing that there is this setting that I needed to turn on for default Microsoft Flight Simulator traffic for us to see planes taxiing, taking off, and loading on the runway. So I went ahead and turned that setting on, and I'll show it to you in a second. And I found it. And now I have planes lining up here for takeoff, even though stairs are down. It's not really moving yet, but at least now there's some activity on the runway. The only activity on the runway. Nothing else is taxiing. But I just wanted to make that quick correction before I finish and edit this video, that now I have some aircraft on the runway. And let me go ahead and show you guys what that setting is. So the settings are over here in flight conditions once you're beginning the flight. And I had this off. You also have to just make sure AI traffic is on, or you could also use live, but I just use the AI. You got to make sure this is on so that way you can see some aircraft taking off on the runway and moving. So just want to make that quick correction before I finish editing this video.
I'm here to tell you right now, we don't care.
Let me tell you something.
We don't care.
Is this supposed to be moving? And of course, it has no wheels. Interesting. Look at how this spawned in. Good old MSFS. Look at this aircraft. What a treat. What a treat. Oh, and now I'm getting an error saying my resources are too low. All right. That is what the default looks like. Of course, better than nothing. Oh, here's the aircraft taxiing. Okay. Here is the taxiing of this aircraft. Moving a little wonky. Wheels are not completely flat or anything, but it's something. It's some sort of life here at the airport. The taxi behavior here is very odd. The wheels are not fully extended. There's no front landing gear. But that's default MSFS for you. That's the default MSFS for you. The wheels are still not fixed, as you could see here. All right, gotta love it. That's default MSFS. Of course, the frames are still hovering about 120, so it's not terrible, but as you could see, the behavior of the aircraft there is very odd. All right, so next we're gonna go and try to see AIG Traffic, see what that's like. All right, so next up, we're checking out AIG Traffic. So this is, of course, freeware that you could download yourself and load up on your device. And here's what it looks like. It's called AIG Traffic Controller. And here we could see all the information of all the aircraft around us right now. It says about 140 aircraft is around us. And currently we have the traffic injector level up to 74% here. So let's go ahead and jump into the sim and see what that looks like. All right, so here we are back by our aircraft that we have spawned in. Same aircraft, same gate. And looks like we're averaging about 120 frames here again as well, but we don't see as much aircraft next to us like we did before. So it seems like they're, oh, there we go. It's put an Air Force livery over here in a 737. I guess it's Air Force 2 or Air Force 1, Air Force 2. So as you can see, that's all spawned in by AIG Traffic Controller, and here's an aircraft that's actually moving. Let's see what that's all about. From here, it looks like an Air Canada Rouge, or red in French, livery, and there it is. And we could see the wheels look a lot better than what they look like on, well, the front gear looks like it's going for the tarmac there, and the rear ones. But doesn't look too terrible. At least it's following actual taxi lines. So it's actually following the taxi lines there on the tarmac. So that looks good. So that's good. And here we have some more aircraft. American Airlines, look like a 737. That is also coming in here for taxi. Pretty cool. And of course it has the actual sound, so you can hear that. Spatial audio there. You can hear the aircraft as it moves by. Looking good. This looks like an E-Jet. Nope, just the Airbus. Looks like an A320 by the looks of it. But this is AIG Traffic, so the liveries are definitely more alive here. And of course, I have all the default MSFS stuff turned off right now. Here's some bigger aircraft at the gates. And I believe it tries to put, you know, realistic aircraft at realistic gates. Here we have some more American Airlines aircraft, and of course, Caribbean Airlines 737. That is very nice. So this is pretty good. So we have aircraft moving around, aircraft taxiing, aircraft at the gates with some more, a lot more realistic airliner liveries here. Again, this is AIG Traffic. Take some steps to download and install. Tons of tutorials online how to do that. But this is what it looks like. And we have this one here. Looks like it's getting ready for pushback. This Southwest 737. And there we see it being pushed back. And the frames and the performance here, pretty good. Again, this is AIG Traffic Controller pushing aircraft back. Again, it looks like that tug is going through the aircraft. It's not perfect, but it's definitely something. A lot more alive than default MSFS, you know, traffic and parked aircraft. So it looks good. Avianca over here. Don't know where this guy's going to taxi to after his pushback is complete, but all right. There he goes. All right, very nice, very nice. Let's see if we could catch a takeoff by chance here at the airport. So next to me, it didn't spawn in much aircraft besides this Air Force 2 by the looks of it. A lot of gates near me are very empty, but we do have aircraft moving around. And the performance, as you can see here, is pretty decent, I would say. Up to 140 frames here. Let's see if this guy's going to taxi to the runway and see if we can see a little takeoff. Let's see. Yep, looks like he's going to go take off. But again, this is AIG Traffic. Absolutely, I think it was free. I can't remember if I paid for it. I believe I had this for a while, since 2020. But I believe it's complete freeware developed by the, you know, the community. I'll double check that, but looking pretty good.
Clearance delivery. Spirit Wings 2177 IFR to LaGuardia. Ready to copy.
There we go. So with AIG, we do get some stuff added to the frequency and some chatter.
As filed, runway 27. Climb and maintain 4,000 expect flight, level 37010 minutes after departure. Departure frequency is 124.6, squawk 7277.
Where is this guy going? He's lining up to take off this way? That's very interesting. The runway goes that way, but he's lining up facing this way.
As filed, runway 27. Climb and maintain 4,000 expect flight, level 37010
Oh, there he goes. He's turning around.
Departure frequency is 125.5.
He's only backtracking. Only backtracking there.
2177.
All right, Air Canada was just backtracking. Lined up now.
Contact ground on 120.35.
Toga.
Good day.
She's going. There she goes. Look at that. Rotate. Very nice. AIG Traffic. Takeoff roll and everything. And we got a next aircraft about to line up. So that is AIG Traffic working a treat here at Miami International. A little bit of questionable taxiing for a second. A very long runway, and they chose to backtrack from here. But hey, still pretty good. Turning could be a little better, I would say. But hey.
Avianca 1, Tree 9er, read back correct. Contact ground on 121.8. Good day.
Where's this guy turning to now? Interesting, interesting. So it's definitely some questionable behavior here on the runway. Let's hope he's lined up now. Nope, he doesn't seem to be happy with his lineup. He's like, nope, he doesn't want to go anymore. This is very interesting behavior here. American Airlines is like, nope, we don't like that lineup. Let's do it again. And an aircraft is flying over us. Wow. Where is that going to? They're coming into land? Whoa, what's going on here? I guess this is an aircraft landing right now. Frontier. Okay, let's see. That is way past the touchdown point on the runway. But this Frontier aircraft just flew over a plane that's lining up for departure and landed here in Miami. We got at least the spoiler speed brake animation going. Okay, that's something. Wow, that was interesting. That was definitely interesting. All right, let's go over here. We got some bigger aircraft spawning in the cargo area, so at least that's realistic. We have the cargo aircraft by what would appear to be the cargo section. Ooh, Amerijet. Haven't seen that in a long time. That's a blast from the past. I know they still fly out of Miami. Amerijet, pretty cool. And of course, UPS is here. And Atlas Air flying their big old 747s. Very nice, very nice. All right, let's see if we could bump up the settings here in AIG. All right, so here we are back with air traffic controller from AIG. I had to turn this down to about 80% here. It didn't like it when it was more than 80%. Also, we're gonna go ahead and enable the ground operations. We had it bumped up. We're gonna lower it down to about 30% here and see if that doesn't crash AIG. All right, so that looks good. It's about 20%, and now we can see stuff moving in the background. And let's go back to the sim. All right. Oh, there we see tons of movement going on the ground. A lot of ground vehicles moving around the airport. Probably a little too much, maybe. Yeah, it's a whole lot. I mean, it's normal, but over here, it seems like just way too much inside by the gates. But again, this is a... Oh, this bus just ran over this taxi. Yeah. Tanker. It's a lot of movement. What's all that movement back there? That's a lot of movement right now. Yeah, it's not the greatest. I probably don't recommend turning this feature on. I don't think it's really needed. And it's just a lot of... You can't even push your aircraft back. Yeah, it's a little too much. A little too much, I would say. But it works. We could also try lowering it down if we want to. Let's try lowering it down to like maybe 10%. Save that. See if that reduces all the movement. Still a lot going on. I think I might need to restart the application for that to take effect, but the ground services, it's a little much. Way too much movement on the around the terminal there for my liking. But again, this is AIG, and again, it's not really giving a performance hit. We're still averaging about above 100 frames. Pretty decent, I would say. Pretty decent. And yeah, no aircraft taxiing right now, though, interestingly. But this is AIG Traffic for Microsoft Flight Simulator, and it works fairly well, apart from the ground services. Probably don't turn that on. Next, let's go check out FSLTL from Fly-by-Wire, see what that's like.
Hey there! Please remember to like this video and subscribe to the channel. We'd love to have you on board.
Alright, so next up we have FSLTL, and this is something you can install with the Fly-by-Wire installer. So of course, this is how you get the free A320 from Fly-by-Wire, as well as the A380 if you want those installed and set up. But additionally, you also get to install the traffic injector from FSLTL and the base models if you wanted to use those base models. So we're gonna go ahead and give that a check and see what that does in flight sim with traffic injection. So we're gonna go ahead and click start over here. All right, so when it first loads up, it's gonna ask you if you wanna change any of your settings. So these are what my settings are currently set up as. All right, and it just got connected to MSFS. We see all the stuff it's loading up. So it's loading up different flights, different parked aircraft. So let's go into the sim and see what that all looks like. All right, so as we can see here, it's also injecting comms on the frequencies. So that all looks good. And here's our aircraft here. Still, let me go ahead and close this ATC panel. Let's go down here a bit. So here's our aircraft. Right around our aircraft, we're still averaging, actually up to 127 frames per second. So slightly better performance than we had with default as well as AIG, but not a lot. And if we move over here, we could see a few aircraft parked up. So we have American Airlines liveries, Copa Airlines, good old Air Canada, ready to go back to Toronto. Looking good. And then we have some more airlines parked over here. Have the E-Jet from American Eagle, Viva Airlines, looking good. Sun Country, okay, Frontier, Delta, Spirit. So these look very good liveries. Models look decent. Look fairly believable, of course. Let's see if we have any traffic taxiing around. Don't see anybody taxiing right now. However, good mix of liveries here at the gates. Doesn't seem like it puts liveries at random places. Doesn't seem like there's any logic to that. A bunch of American Airlines over here, but again, that's fine. We just want a little bit of immersion here in the sim to make the sim feel real. You know what I mean? So this looks pretty good. And the performance is also very good, I would say. So that's the traffic injection here from FSLTL. Some more aircraft parked over here. I'm yet to see any aircraft taxiing or taking off or anything like that, however. So far, I haven't seen any of that. So we did hear somebody on frequency a second ago requesting, I believe it was departure, but I don't see any aircraft moving here. But looks good, you know, some good models, some good liveries. Very decent, I would say. I just want to see some aircraft moving around, if possible, to see what that animation looks like. But I don't see any right now. We're hearing something. Oh, there's the aircraft. So here's an aircraft taxiing out. Finally. Okay. Here is this Delta. Looks like a E-Jet E175 or 195. But yep, Delta is taxiing over here. We have another Delta taxiing right now, directly on the taxi line. So that's a good look for FSLTL. It's following those taxi lines to a T. Interesting how this aircraft is getting onto the runway here. Kind of cut through, didn't hold short. Okay, let's look at that lineup. Not looking great right now. Okay, turning around again. This is very similar to the behavior from AIG. So far it's behaving quite similarly. Let's see if he gets a good lineup now. Come on, buddy. You can do it. You can do it. All right. He's getting lined up here. Let's go. Don't turn around again. Come on. Don't turn around again. Almost had it, buddy. Nope. You almost had it, buddy. And the other aircraft is holding short, it looks like. Nope, he's coming straight onto the runway as well. Very interesting. All right, let's go take off now. Oh boy, turn around again.
How? Hold on, bro. How?
Very interesting behavior from these aircraft. Again, this is FSLTL from Fly-by-Wire that's running here, and we have 2 aircraft on the runway now. 2 aircraft on the same runway. Not great. Not great at all. This is what we got here. Unless I did something wrong in my setup, but this is it. This is the behavior we're seeing here in the sim with the injected traffic from FSLTL. All right, last but not least, we're gonna go ahead and check out Beyond ATC. All right, and last but not least, we have Beyond ATC, which could also inject traffic into Microsoft Flight Simulator. And here is the traffic model matching priority. So right now it's set to FSLTL first. I'm gonna make it AIG Traffic first. You could also check this checkbox here to use the MSFS2024 GA models if you want. I'm just gonna leave it set like this again, and we'll see what the performance is like. Of course, you need to, of course, load a flight plan from your airport for Beyond ATC to work currently. So let's go back into Miami and see what this looks like with Beyond ATC traffic injection. All right, so Beyond ATC is connected to our sim and it's loading up KMIA. I just created a quick flight plan from MIA to JFK just to see what, you know, it puts here into the sim for us as it continues to load here, loading up JFK right now. Let's see what that looks like as the traffic starts to flow in. All right, so Beyond ATC here is loaded and we should have some traffic injected here at the gates, as we can see here. So here is Beyond ATC. This looks like a 757 from Delta here, loaded right next to us. Doesn't seem to be connected to the jet bridge, however, but we are here. That is interesting. So the aircrafts are parked at the right locations, but the jet bridge doesn't seem to be working here or connected to any of these aircraft. We also have some pushback super tugs next to some aircraft here. Very interesting. I thought with the other ones, the other traffic injectors, the jet bridges worked. So that may be a score against Beyond ATC traffic injection here so far. But the performance, as you can see up here, is pretty decent. Frames are looking good. So very interesting here that none of the jet bridges are connected. Also don't see currently any aircraft taxiing right now. Let's get closer to the ground and see what else we have spawned in here. We have some smaller aircraft parked up here, and of course some E-jets, some 737s, looking good. Blank livery there, and I think it does a better job at putting the right aircraft at the right gates here. I could be wrong. This might be a primarily American airline terminal here, and it's mostly American airline aircraft and livery here. And of course over here you have some other airlines, but of course we know Miami is kind of pretty much ran by American Airlines. Here's the performance next to our aircraft here in Flight Sim, and averaging about a little lower frames than default, but about 116. Kind of fluctuates a little bit. It's not terrible though. But this is what the injection looks like. Here is an Amazon Prime Air aircraft over here. 737. Looking good. Looking good. I just want to see an aircraft either land, take off, or taxi here. But this is the traffic injection here in Microsoft Flight Simulator 2024 of Beyond ATC. The model matching, I would say, looks as good as FSLTL did. Good liveries, you know, aircraft at the appropriate gates for sure. Like I said, the one drawback is I don't see any of the jet bridges being used. Maybe there's something I'm missing or said I need to tweak for that, but none of the jet bridges here are connected. So that's one mark against this injector, which I believe the other injectors had the jet bridges connecting to the aircraft. So that is fairly interesting here, as we still don't see any aircraft landing or taking off or taxiing. So that is something to keep in mind here as we continue to look over KMIA. I believe in previous flights I definitely seen traffic injected onto the taxiways and taxiing for departure and takeoff and so forth with Beyond ATC. For some reason we don't have any right now. Let's go back to the setting and see if there's anything else we're missing here. Alright, so traffic is on. Parked aircraft density is set to 8. Let's go ahead and bump these up to see if we see some more activity here at the airport. Additionally, let's switch the order. Let's put FSLTL back up to the, you know, number 1 for the matching priority. Let's also check off the use 2024 GA models. Let's see what difference that does here back in the sim with these settings. So it seems like it removed all the aircraft and it's probably going to load them back in, or you would hope it does shortly. Don't see any aircraft loaded in yet. Maybe it did not like that setting change. Oh, there we go. They're starting to populate now. Okay, here's a few aircraft here. All right. Here is our aircraft. And it seems like instead of gaining more aircraft, we lost a few aircraft here. Unless it's still loading up the aircraft. Okay, there's a lot more back now. Okay, that's better. All right, a lot more densely populated now. Okay, so definitely looks a lot better. Still don't see any movement here on the taxiways. Any aircraft being pushed back or taken off or landing either. So, oh, there we go. There is an aircraft taxiing finally. Looks like an Embraer. All right, here we go. Following the taxi lines. So that's definitely good. A little quick, I would say. Maybe a little too fast, but I could be wrong. And here's the performance next to this taxiing aircraft. 130 or so frames. And they're gonna 8 left to 8 right. So where's that at? That is over here. So here is 8 right and 8 left, which is where I believe this Embraer is gonna take off from. So let's continue to monitor that and see what this Beyond ATC takeoff looks like. So far, taxiing fairly decent, fairly decent. At first I felt like it was a little too quick, but might be all right on the speed. And of course, the traffic injection of Beyond ATC comes with Beyond ATC. As long as you've paid for even the basic subscription, you will get the traffic injection. And of course, FSLTL was free. AIG was also free. Default MSFS, which I would say sucks, was also free, of course. But here we go. Let's get ready. Let's see if this plane actually lines up and takes off. The last two we were looking at, AIG and FSLTL, there were some lineup issues. Oh, and here's an aircraft about to land here. Runway 12, another Embraer, American Airlines. Okay, kind of missed that touchdown. Look at that, fairly good, very beautiful. So we have aircraft landing. That looked really good. All right, so we finally seen the landing with Beyond ATC. Now let's see if we get a takeoff here in this Embraer as well. So we had aircraft landing. Now we have an aircraft about to take off. Runway 8 right. Let's see what this lineup looks like. Okay, lineup so far is interesting. I won't speak too soon yet, but it looks better than the lineup of FSLTL at the moment. All right, stops, goes to takeoff thrust, and begins the roll. Very good. Nice takeoff roll there. Should be rotating any minute now. Is he ever gonna rotate? All right, very long. He must be really heavy. Very long takeoff roll. But here we can see the aircraft taking off. And she's gone. Oh, we get the animation of the wheels going in. Landing gear retracting. Very nice. Very nice, Beyond ATC. Very nice. All right, so that was a quick look at all these different traffic injection options. Hopefully this video wasn't too long, but just wanted to check them out, see what the differences are of the ones that I do have, of course. I would say Beyond ATC, if you're actually flying with Beyond ATC, is probably the best approach because it's just automatic for you. If you're using Beyond ATC for your, AIATC, because it's just easy, it's on by default, you could just run that. If you're doing some GA flying, maybe FSLTL is easy enough to just inject some life at the airport without, too much extra issues. And it's probably the easiest to install, I will say, the fly-by-wire FSLTL. AIG is a little bit more involved to get all the flight plans installed and all the aircraft set up, but I would say it also works similar to FSLTL. Default MSFS, of course, is the worst, as we expected, but it's something, instead of having to go through and try to install or download any of these. But that is a look at traffic injection. I would say Beyond ATC is the winner for me, but, let me know your thoughts. Let me know what you fly with. Please remember to like the video, subscribe to the channel, and I will see you guys next time. Peace.
Thanks for watching. Please like and subscribe. Check out one of these videos next.